What is up, everybody? We're rolling audio here today on episode 88 of the Hodder Show. Merry Christmas Eve, happy Christmas Eve, happy holidays, blah, 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 all that fun stuff. I hope you're doing fantastic. Thank you so much for tuning in, clicking that play button on this very special episode of the Hodder Show, this special Christmas-themed episode of the Hodder Show. Even though I said I wasn't going to do something like this, I decided this morning, after reading an article on something specific, I was like, you know what? No, I want to do something Christmas themed. Just something short, it's just a short and sweet one today. But I was like, no, I want to do something. I want to talk about something Christmas related because this is my first Christmas with the podcast and I didn't really talk about anything Christmassy. And I was thinking about telling, Christmas stories from my past like presents and funny stuff that's happened and that kind of thing. And I was like, it's Christmas Eve. I don't think anyone's really going to care about that. I was kind of like, maybe I'll talk about Christmas movies that I'm like, people know I'm going to be lying to them. I'm not a movie guy. And I'm thinking about maybe Christmas music. Nah, that's boring. And then it came to me. A lost tradition on Christmas Eve was to tell ghost stories, scary ghost stories. It was definitely not a tradition when I was growing up, but I do know a couple people in my life who did have told me before that was a tradition of theirs growing up, that their family would often tell ghost stories. And it was a very popular tradition back in the day. And I was like, you know what? That's very interesting. I want to talk about that. I'm going to tell some ghost stories. So I started looking up ghost stories, and I could be like, oh, someone could put this on when they're wrapping presents, or they're heading to somewhere, or they're, sitting around drinking eggnog and they're bored and want to listen to something or whatever. And I was like, I'll tell some ghost stories. I'll do it almost like a audiobook type deal or something. And then I picked out some stories I wanted to read on various creatures and monsters and that kind of thing. And I started kind of picking through them, and I went, this is going to be a very long podcast if I want to, because there was a bunch of them I really wanted to read. Like I wanted to go all out. And I was like, this is going to be like a 2-hour podcast, and, ain't nobody got time for that. So I decided, instead of only reading one or two, I would talk about all of the Christmas creatures, beings, and monsters that I was going to tell a story about. Some of them were shorter stories I could have gotten through, but some of the longer ones, I wouldn't have been able to get through them in time to make it, I think, an acceptable length of a podcast for Christmas Eve. So I just decided I'm going to talk about the beings and monsters. And I think it's a very interesting list. Some names some of you guys will probably know, and some you may not know. The list there was a article that inspired me this morning to talk about this, and it was the lost tradition of ghost stories on Christmas Eve. And I can't recall the website that made it up, but they were talking about one in particular who was actually the last being I talk about, and it kind of piqued my interest, so I decided to talk about this. I think it's very interesting, the whole telling ghost stories and scary stories and talking about this kind of stuff on Christmas Eve. Christmas is a wonderful, joyous time, and it should always be remembered that that's what it is and what it's all about: giving and caring and being with your loved ones and that kind of thing. But if you can scare the crap out of them too, what the hell, why not? So hopefully you guys enjoyed the list. I really tried to pick the best, 10 of the best, in my opinion anyway, kind of Christmas creatures and that kind of thing. And I talk about each one, give it kind of a very short blurb about each one and kind of their backstory and their story, and talk about their appearance and that kind of thing. And I think it's a good little list. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for taking the time to check this out. I know it's Christmas Eve, so even if only one or two of you do, hey, it's a success. I think it's a fun little list, so hopefully you guys do enjoy this. Grab some eggnog and maybe sit around the fire, and we'll talk about some Christmas monsters and beings. Let's get into it. All right, so starting off the list of creepy Christmas monsters and creatures and beings, we have a dude who isn't quite as intense as the rest of the people on this list, Belsnickel. He is of German folklore, and he's definitely less of a monster, more of just kind of like a homeless dude, dressed in tattered clothing, sporting a big beard and all that kind of thing, who He doesn't want to kill your kids. He just wants to beat them. He wants to beat them. If they're bad anyway, he wants to beat them. But so basically what this dude does is he travels from house to house in the days prior to Christmas, and he checks to calm the children and sees if they're being good. Now, the good children, he gives candy, which he carelessly tosses on the floor, and the bad ones are beaten mercilessly with a switch, which is basically a bunch of sticks together on another stick, essentially. Basically, he clubs them with something. And he does this in an effort to get them to shape up before Santa rides into town and lays the smackdown on their candy asses. Belsnickel sometimes wears a sinister mask with a long tongue as an added scare tactic. So, basically here's a dude who, he's some homeless dude who walks around in rags and has taken it upon himself to make sure your children are being good, and if they're good, he'll be like, okay, here's some candy, kids, which is kind of creepy. And if they're not being good, he'll beat them mercilessly. Like I said, this was a lot of these were tactics used to try and get kids to shape up and not be little assholes. Maybe if we had tactics like this nowadays, kids wouldn't be assholes. I don't know, but either way, definitely very interesting. Belsnickel. Very interesting stuff there. The next one is definitely a creature. It's known as the Christmas cat or Yule cat. In Icelandic folklore, they're just a figure known as Breillat, which we'll get to a little later, I have a feeling. She's a giant female troll who comes down from the mountains to feast on naughty children. It is said that she has 13 children, also known as the Yule lads, which I have a feeling we'll hear about from this a little bit. And she also has an evil sidekick in the form of a feline known as, I'm not even going to try and pronounce its full Icelandic name. I'll give it a shot. Jolakuturin. Can't even begin to pronounce that. Okay, known as the Yule cat. So, according to the lore, the massive black cat accompanies Breillat on her child-eating missions. Breillat we will get to a little later. And it lurks the countryside during the Christmas season to prey upon both children and adults. Unlike other Christmas monsters, the Yule cat doesn't care if you've been naughty or nice. He or she only cares if you basically... the only thing this cat gives a shit about is if you have new clothes or not on Christmas Day. If you do not have a new set of clothes, or if you do not receive a new set of clothes, this cat will eat you because you are not fashionable, honey. That's kind of bizarre. Like I said, all these are from like folklore from all over the world. So, I guess back in Victorian times and that kind of thing, this was a big deal. I don't know, but that's definitely very bizarre indeed. Now, the next one I have here is another one, the Kallik Can. Kallik. They are found in Greek, Turkish, and Siberian folklore. And basically these little troll-like, kind of gnome-like buggers live underground for most of the year, constantly swinging away at the world tree with the intention of bringing about a complete collapse of the earth. Jesus Christ. During the 12 days of Christmas, however, these guys come up to the surface and terrorize those who they are secretly working on destroying. So, aside from trying to destroy the world on any given day, during the Christmas season, they decide to come up and go, you know what, these next 12 days, we're going to just piss everybody off and ruin their day. The appearance of these Christmas goblin dishes from one area to the next, though they're often depicted as hairy little creatures with body parts both human and animal. That's attractive. They also have long black tails and are said to smell quite putrid, and by some accounts, they have various horns and animal tusks. The strangest part of this legend is that children born during the 12 days of Christmas are in danger of turning into one of them each and every Christmas season. That's interesting. I feel like that's a movie waiting to happen personally, but Very interesting. So you got these little troll-like, goblin-like buggers who are trying to destroy the world on any given day. And then they decide, just for no rhyme and reason, they're going to come up the 12 days of Christmas and just piss everybody off. That's kind of messed up. You know, some of these creatures and monsters, they have no rhyme or reason for doing what they're doing. Some of them do. They're trying to get a point across. Kids, be good. But these little buggers, they don't care. They're just doing it because they wanted to. And that's why I thought they were so interesting. The next one I have is Zwarte Piet. That's Zwartepiet, or as he's kind of more commonly known as, Black Peter. Black Peter accompanies Santa Claus during his Christmas rounds and gives coal to naughty children. Not really that bad, right? No, it gets better, guys. This legend from Belgium and the Netherlands, takes a dark turn for particularly naughty children who do not heed his warnings. The story goes that both Sinterklaas and the Dutch version of Santa Claus and the Zwarte Piet live in Spain and cross the ocean to deliver to Dutch children. Okay, I see. So basically, in the story, in the Dutch version of the story, they live in Spain and they come across the ocean to deliver gifts to children. Kind of bizarre, but whatever. The nice ones get presents. The really naughty ones get dragged back to Spain by Black Peter and are forced to work in his coal mines for eternity. Good Lord. Okay. So basically the moral of the story is here, kids, is be good. Dutch children, be good. Or else Black Peter's going to come and drag you away to be a slave for all of eternity. That'd probably make your kids behave. Oh my God, that is intense. That is Okay, well, I mean, if it works, then, you know, I mean, every Dutch person I've ever met has been very well-mannered and well-behaved, and that's probably why. Holy crap. Next person we have here this is actually a pretty famous story. I actually heard this story before I kind of did my little list here. Le Père Fouettard. Fouettard. So in French-speaking countries, St. Nicholas, he's known as Pierre Noel or Father Christmas. His sinister opposite number is Pierre Fouettard, Father Whipper or Father Spanker. That's it. That's lovely. He is a shaggy wild man who beats naughty children on St. Nicholas's Day, which is what they celebrate. He's usually depicted wearing a long black beard and hooded robe, carrying a whip or a handful of birch rods. According to legends, Pierre was either a innkeeper or in some versions he was a butcher who murdered 3 children and planned to carve up their corpses to sell as meat. His plan was foiled by St. Nicholas, who resurrected the children and made him his minion. Because I guess for jolly old St. Nick, you know, attempted murder and cannibalism is just the top of his resume list for hiring people. I mean, makes sense, right? Holy crap, there's Santa Claus. Calm down, buddy. It may seem strange. It's really strange, the fact that he assigned this job to punish the naughty children to a known child killer, but such is folklore, I guess. Victorian folklore, I guess, too, if you want to get down to it. Yeah, so kids, be nice, or else a child killer's going to come beat you and probably try and kill you and eat you. But that's okay, because Santa Claus is like, hey, buddy, calm down. You know, I'll let you be around kids even though you've killed them before, but like, hey, only beat them with a stick. Don't go any further, okay, pal? I'm watching you. So good old jolly old Saint Nick, you know, keeping his eye out on them. Number five, we have definitely a more interesting one. She is, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that. That's the thing with some of these names. Like I was trying to pronounce them before I started the podcast, and I'm like, I'll be able to wing it in podcast. And some of them I just can't even. Frau Perchta, Frauperchta. She's, like I said, she's one of the most interesting characters in Christmas folklore. because she's originally started out, as a benevolent goddess in southern German paganism. Her true meaning, the bright one, she oversaw spinning and weaving, though somewhere along the way she took a much more sinister form. In modern times, she has become a two-faced monster, appearing as either a kind old woman or as an evil hag. So basically, she's a witch. She roams around the 12 days of Christmas to make sure that all are working hard and behaving well. It is believed that she enters homes and rewards those who have, while she's not so kind to those who haven't. This is where it gets really, really messed up really quickly. As punishment, so basically, okay, let's say you're little Tim over here, and this little old lady comes to you and says, "Hey, Timmy, have you worked hard and done all your chores?" If you say no, as I think most kids would probably say no, because kids are little buggers sometimes, and that's okay. So as punishment, she would slit you open, right at your belly. She'd slit your belly open, remove your innards, and replace them with things like straw and pebbles. Those who have done enough work throughout the year, on the other hand, are rewarded with silver coins. So, there you go. If you don't work hard and do your job, she's going to split you open and fill you with pebbles and straw. But hey, if you work hard, here's a silver coin. Some of these are just too much, and this is why I wanted to do this list. Just too much. I still think my one of my favorites though so far that I've talked about is friggin' the first dude, Belsnickel. Just some random homeless dude who walks around friggin' giving out candy to good kids and then beats the ones who are bad. But that's pretty interesting. That is bizarre. Very, very weird. And I mean, it's folklore. A lot of these are written in Victorian times and that from the research I did, from what I can tell. So that kind of thing's expected. What do you think? All right, guys, just want to take a quick second here to give a big shout out to the first ever sponsor and big time supporter of the Hodder Show, my man, Mr. Jason Reese over at Jaybird Digital Arts. Now, what exactly does Jason do? Well, if you guys need any kind of logos, t-shirts, posters, album design, tickets, photo manipulation, you guys still with me? Advertising, business stationery, mailers, brochures, fine art, and literally anything else you can think of, Jaybird Digital Arts can create it. No project is just a generic template, and every single job is a new opportunity to create something unique. Jason's done all the Hodder Show logos, t-shirts, banners, and even a meme here and there, so I can promise you that you will love and be inspired by what Jason comes up with. You can find him on the web at www.jaybird, that's Jaybird, digitalarts.com. Or you can find him on Facebook under the Jaybird Digital Arts handle, as well as on Instagram. If you happen to use his services, be sure to let him know that TJ sent you.
Hodder Show Studios presents to you A Lit as Fuck Christmas, a Christmas album from the world-famous podcaster TJ Hodder himself. Join him as he takes you on a journey through all your favorite Christmas classics like Jingle Bell Gibberish,
Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell Rock, a Jingle Bell Swag, the Jingle Bells Clang, and Jingle Bell.
Let Me Wish You a Merry Christmas Before I Sneeze,
my Harry Little Christmas, and Jack Frosty's
Rudolph, Shiny Nose, Social Nightmare,
the red-nosed reindeer, the nose that was shiny and red.
And of course the penultimate classic, I Saw Mother Getting Violated by Santa Claus and Decided Not to Report It to the Authorities.
I saw my mother kissing Santa Claus. It was underneath the mistletoe last night.
This 268-track classic is a staple of any holiday music collection and could be yours for just 18 low, easy payments of $39.95. Call now. Supplies are limited. The Hodder Show is not responsible for any side effects this album may cause, including diarrhea, vomiting, tooth decay, tooth loss, sudden feelings related to manifest destiny, whooping cough, malaria, the urge to become committed in a long-distance relationship, or death.
Merry Christmas, everybody. All right, moving right on with my list, we have technically in the number 4 spot, but I haven't really been counting. Just kind of have a list. We have the Yule Lads. Now, these guys are interesting. They are the 13 sons of Breillat, who is the person I mentioned earlier, who we will hear from very shortly. They're each known for a particular habit or characteristics, much like the Disney version of Snow White's Seven Dwarfs. Most of them are depicted as mischievous pranksters and petty criminals. Icelandic children are visited each night on the 13th of Christmas leading up to Christmas. Something I forgot to mention, a lot of these people that I've chosen, if I didn't mention where the folklore's from, it's mostly Icelandic, because the Icelandic people are crazy, apparently. They need to bring it down a couple notches with their folklore, I'm just saying. But anyway, so these 13 Yule lads, which are basically their little dwarfs, basically. They are the 13 sons of Breillat, who is a piece of work. We'll hear from her in a second. And I actually found all their names and a description of each of these little buggers and what they do and so on and so forth. And we got some real winners here. So we have Sheep Cote Clog. He is a peg-legged sheep fancier. His fancying is impaired by his peg legs. Don't think I have to spell that one out for you. We have Gully Gawk. And this guy hides out in ditches or gullies and waits for an opportune moment to run into the cow shed and lick the foam off the milk in the milking buckets. That is weird. These get kind of weirder as it goes on, but those two are pretty friggin' weird. We have Stubby. His name denotes his stature as he is unusually short. If your pie pan is missing, you can bet Stubby has stolen it to eat whatever pie crusts were left behind. So basically, if I was one of these dudes, I'd probably be Stubby, because that would be my deal. I would totally freaking steal your pie pan and be like, "Ooh, some crust." No. That's what I do. We have the classically named, probably the funniest named one, Spoon Licker. And what does this guy do? Well, if you couldn't guess, he licks your spoons. He licks your spoons, and he steals them. Because why not? I can always do a freaking podcast just on these guys. We have Bowl Licker. He hides under your bed and waits for you to absentmindedly put your bowl down so he can steal and, yes, lick it. Interesting. We have possibly the biggest dick out of all of them, Door Slammer. Now, I should say, obviously, these names probably are said differently in Icelandic and that kind of thing, but I didn't look that up because I didn't even want to try and pronounce that. So with all due respect to Iceland, wonderful place and wonderful people, just I can't understand your damn language even remotely. If anyone from Iceland listen to the podcast, maybe you can let me know what these people's names are. Well, yeah, the biggest dick out of all of them, Door Slammer. Did you just fall asleep? That's too bad. He's going to go ahead and slam a door to wake you up. He's going to do that all friggin' night as you're trying to sleep. So, yeah, he's a real dick. So then we have Skyer Gobbler. Now, this Skyer, it's a type of yogurt. So basically, if you have any in your house, he's going to go ahead and eat it. I guess there's worse things that could happen, but it's still a pretty big inconvenience. A lot of these dudes are just like basically inconveniences. We have another classically named Sausage Swiper, and yeah, he's gonna steal your sausage. So keep that shit hidden, man. You don't want to lose your sausages, especially if you make them yourself or something. You spend all that time putting the meat in the casing and stuff, and then this little bugger comes along and steals it. That's no good. We have the creepiest one of them all, Window Peeper. He's watching you right now. Like right now, I'm sitting here recording this podcast. He's probably watching me through a window. Window Peeper. We have another just classically named one. We have Doorway Sniffer. Yes, Doorway Sniffer. He uses his incredibly large nose to sniff through doors as a leaf bread. A traditional Icelandic Christmas bread. Leaf bread, it's called. Locator. So basically, he sniffs doorways to see if there's the bread in there, and if there is, he eats it. I mean, what the hell, that's not that weird, I guess. We have Meat Hook. This fellow always brings a meat hook along with him so he can steal meat. Shit, I would too. Then we have the last one of the bunch. We have Candle Stealer. Candle Stealer. He follows children around at night so he can steal their candles and leaves them in the dark. Well, that's just not cool. you can't. You're just walking along. You're a little kid. You got a little candle. You're walking along. You're minding your own business, and all of a sudden, oh, see you later. There goes your candle. And you just go, well, great. Where am I? Who am I? Where am I? Like, I got to get back to my room. I got to go to bed. I got no candle. So that sucks. That's not cool, Candle Stealer. Don't do that. So yeah, those are the Yule lads. Very, very interesting cats. Yeah, very, very interesting. Next up, we have someone I've mentioned a couple times here in this little list. We have Breillat. Now, she's one of Iceland's most renowned figures associated with Christmas. She made her first appearance in ancient pagan times. She actually dates before the Yule lads and the Yule cat, even though they're all kind of drawn together. An especially terrifying figure, Breillat is a giant troll with hooves for feet and sports an impressive 13 tails. This lady troll is always in a bad mood due to her insatiable hunger for children. Damn, okay. Each Christmas, she comes down from her mountain dwelling to hunt for bad children. She places them in a sack and drags them back to her cave where she boils them alive for her favorite stew. So basically, you got this giant troll who is very attractive. And she's always in a bad mood. She's always cranky and pissed off because she's hungry for children. And no matter how many children she eats, she's hungry for children. And that's just no good, man. Her wrath, however, is not reserved solely for human children because she has been through 3 husbands already, 2 of which she killed because, get this, they bored her. So next time you think your wife's getting bored of you, just be happy she's not going to kill you. Damn. She's also the mother of the Yule lads, which is interesting given that those guys are just like basically a bunch of weirdos, like spoon licker and window peeper. I'm just glad they didn't get her hunger for kids. God, man, Iceland needs to just calm down with their folklore, okay? Like, just crazy stuff. Now, my next person I want to talk about, he's definitely most of my next being, I should say, that I want to talk about. He's definitely the most well-known on this list. I think everybody pretty much knows that at some point I was going to have to talk about him, and that is Krampus. Now, if you guys don't know who Krampus is, basically Krampus, he is a big furry dude with goat horns, hooves, and snake-like tongue. He resembles nothing so much as the devil himself, which is precisely how children in Central and Eastern European countries think of him. He is a huge deal over there. In the States and in Canada, we kind of got to know him, especially last year, I think, was when the movie Krampus came out, I think. But he's been, he's described as one of the 19th century sources of terror of the nursery. Basically, he was always scaring kids and that kind of thing. And kids were terrified of him, and they should be, because listen to this. He's usually depicted carrying a bundle of switches, which is, like I said, that kind of, basically a bunch of sticks that you hit people with. And he used them to flog misbehaving youngsters. According to folklore, Krampus accompanies St. Nicholas as he goes from house to house with his bag of gifts. There's a knock at the door. And, Santa comes in, and behind him is Krampus. And basically, each child in the house is called forward to account for his or her behavior. And I found someone explained this really well. So basically, he asks, like, awkward questions like, hey, who stole their sister's bike last week? Or who broke her brother's boat? So on and so forth. Basically, if he says, oh, who did this bad deed, step forward, and they have to answer for everything bad they did. And then the good kids receive presents, and the naughty boys and girls, they don't get anything from the old St. Nicholas. Instead, they get a present from Krampus. And, well, big old furry bugger Krampus only gives out one kind of gift. A birch rod. Yeah. A birch rod across the butt. Or head. I don't know. I also found a bunch of stuff about him, like in some other folklores around the European countries, and that he like takes kids and eats them. And if you look on my Instagram, there's an old kind of Victorian picture of him like licking a kid's head with his tongue. So there's lots of different accounts, but this was kind of the most common one that I found, that Krampus wasn't necessarily eating kids and that much of a monster. He was just basically the counterpart of St. Nicholas, who he would come and beat kids. Lots of kid beatings happening. And you wonder why kids were so well behaved back in the day, you know? God. Maybe we ought to think about bringing some of these back. Not the actual beatings, obviously, but just the thought of it. You know, hey, if you're not good, Krampus is going to come. He's going to mess you up, buddy. Hey, it'd scare me as a kid. But the last one I want to talk about here today, the last Christmas, creepy Christmas being monster, or whatever you want to call them, is one I actually found kind of the most interesting, just because I'd never heard this story before, even remotely. Sometimes I've seen lists over the years like this and stuff, and this is the first time I heard of this guy. And this guy's name is Hans Trapp. Hans, H-A-N-S, Trapp, T-R-A-P-P. He is a legendary boogeyman from France, particularly in the Alsace and Lorraine regions. And basically, this guy accompanies Santa Claus to punish naughty children at Christmas. While Santa gives them presents and gifts to the nice ones, Hans delivers beatings. So while your brother's receiving a new bike, you're getting your ass whipped by Hans Trapp. That sucks. Legend says that Trapp was a real man. He was greedy, rich, and evil. He worshipped Satan and was excommunicated from the Catholic Church. He was exiled into the forest, where he preyed upon young children disguised as a scarecrow with straw jutting out of his clothing. He was about to eat one boy he captured when he was struck by lightning and killed. A punishment of his own from God. Oh, so God was saying, hey, listen. You can kill the kids, but don't you dare eat them. Just beat them and that's fine. Still, he visits young children before Christmas dressed as a scarecrow to scare them into being good. And while he's not scaring kids half to death or trying to kill them, he's coming with Santa Claus, who apparently Santa Claus has to hang out with a bunch of winners, and he'll beat you if you're not good. So, very interesting. Basically, the moral of this story, folks, from the folklore that the monsters I've discussed today and that kind of thing: be good, be happy, do your work, work hard and be a productive member of society, or else you're gonna get beat mercilessly, or you're gonna get your belly sliced open, or you're gonna get eaten, or lots of bad stuff's gonna happen, man. Just be good, work hard, and that kind of thing. It's interesting, talking about this kind of thing. Like I said, I kind of was thinking about doing like almost like a read through of a bunch of Christmas short stories. I was thinking about reading the entirety of A Christmas Carol. And at the end of the day, I just decided, you know what, I think this is more of a better thing to do. Just because I know people are busy and that kind of thing, but I wanted to do something Christmas themed, even though, like I said I wouldn't. But I thought this was interesting. I saw a post for it this morning of someone talking about Hans Trapp, and I was like, I've never heard of this guy, so I looked it up, and I was like, this is really interesting. Like, this is a pretty interesting topic. So, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned some stuff about some creepy Christmas people. If you want to learn more about them, you can check them out. There's lots of short stories and that kind of thing on them, but I didn't want to do anything like that today. I didn't want to go full out and do like a full, hour plus long podcast. And that would have been a very long podcast for me to read a story about, all of them, just the stories from Krampus alone. Like, there's so many of them. But like I said, there's lots of them. There's creepy pastas on them and that kind of thing as well. So if you're into that kind of thing, you can check them out. And hopefully you've enjoyed this kind of, not ghost story reminiscing, but kind of back in the day when, these kind of stories were told to kids on Christmas Eve, because what the hell, why not, I guess, I am so glad I did not grow up in that era. Even though I was a good kid, I didn't need my parents telling me that Krampus was going to come eat me or beat me with a stick if I wasn't good. But still, it's interesting. Yeah, be good or else you're going to get beaten with a bunch of switches. So be good, and have a merry, wonderful Christmas. Thank you guys all again for the wonderful support throughout this past year. I'm going to do one more podcast that's going to go up probably Thursday. It might be a little different. As like I said, this is kind of a special Christmas Eve Saturday episode. And then after I do this next episode, which is going to be episode 89, not this episode, but the next episode. After I do that episode, I am going to take about a week off. Might not quite be a full week, might be a little more than a week. I don't know. I'm working on some cool stuff that hopefully you guys will be able to see when I come back, when I make my little comeback. But either way, hope you guys have enjoyed this. Hopefully you, this kept you entertained, learned about some different Christmas monsters and beings and that kind of thing. Maybe while you got some wrapping done, or you're driving somewhere to go see the family, or you're heading into work, or you're coming home from work, or any of that kind of thing. Or you're just sitting around sipping on some damn eggnog, if that's what you're doing. Hey, man, have some for me, because I don't like eggnog. So I hope you guys have a phenomenal Christmas. Thank you so much for listening, regardless of how you did that. If you did that on the SoundCloud, be sure to follow the Hodder Show to keep up with everything that is going on. Leave a like on this podcast. Comment and let me know if, there's a Christmas monster or being or creature you think that I would find interesting that I forgot to mention. Let me know maybe what your favorite one is, your favorite story. Send me some Christmas ghost short stories or something. I dig that. I don't like watching home movies and that kind of thing, but I like reading ghost stories for some reason. Figure that out. Sam, I think we are onto something. If you guys are listening on the YouTube, be sure to leave a like or dislike on this video, depending on what you thought of it. Comment in the comment section. Like I said, tell me about your favorite Christmas creatures or ghost stories, or tell me about what you're doing, what's going on, Let me know if you've received any early Christmas presents like myself. I received my nice little PS4. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Emily Wants to Play video I put up. If you saw it on my YouTube, if not, go check that out. It's pretty funny. I get pretty scared, so it's a good laugh. It's definitely worth your time to check out, even though my internet sucks. Definitely going to do stuff like that in the future on the YouTube. And of course, last but not least, if you are listening on the iTunes, be sure to subscribe to the Hodder Show on there to keep up with everything that's going on. Once you subscribe to the Hodder Show on the iTunes, you don't have to think about it. It will be automatically downloaded to the device of your choosing every single time an episode is posted. I'm very excited about everything that's going on, guys. I cannot wait for you to hear the one thing that myself and the producer, Mr. Brandon Bowden, have actually kind of been working on. I think we've got it finalized. You guys are going to hear that in my kind of comeback episode right there, my week off episode 90. So I'm very, very excited about that. It may not be a big deal with some people, but it's a big deal to me. Thank you guys all again so much for checking this out. I know that it's Christmas Eve, so I know that there's a lot going on, but I appreciate you checking this out. Hopefully it kept you entertained. I'm going to go play some PS4 now, and maybe put my feet up, and maybe I will have a little eggnog. What the hell, right? When in Rome. But I will catch you guys next time on The Hodder Show. Merry Christmas and take it easy.